Ah, there you are, my dear friend. Come, sit with me a while. The log's still warm beside the fire, and the rain, listen, it's found its rhythm again tonight, steady as a lullaby against the stone. No storm, no thunder, just a hush that wraps itself around the world like a woolen cloak. You made it just in time. The fire's holding strong, though she burns low now, more ember than flame, that quiet kind of light. It doesn't shout, just glows, casts little golden halos on the cave walls and dances in the curve of my gauntlet. You'll find its warmth reaches deep, if you sit close enough, not just through your cloak, but into your bones and behind your eyes where the weariness lives. Let the world out there be as wet and wild as it likes. In here the air is still and kind, damp, yes, but only in the way that makes everything smell a little richer, like soil just turned by hand, like old roots and moss, earth that's waited long to be noticed. Do you hear that? The drip from the rock above? It finds the same hollow every time. Tap, tap, as if some small creature were trying gently to wake a stone from its slumber. It's strange how even the softest sound can feel like company when you let it. I've found that silence out here isn't really silent, not in the way they speak of in courts or cloisters. It's made of hundreds of tiny voices, crackling coals, distant winds threading through hills, and rain, always rain. It speaks not to fill space, but to soften it. Here, rest your shoulders. You've traveled far. I can see it in the way you breathe. A bit of that road still clings to your boots, doesn't it? Don't worry. Roads are like stories. They settle after a while. You're safe now. And you don't have to say a word, not unless you want to. Tonight I'll do the speaking. It's a fine thing, really, this cave. Not grand. Not carved with any intent beyond time and water and chance. But it's enough. The stone curves just so above us, and the rain never finds its way too far in. The wind has to knock politely at the entrance before it joins us. And sometimes I swear the smoke from the fire swirls in little circles on the ceiling, like it's trying to remember a dance. I've slept in palaces, and I've slept beneath stars, but this place, it feels honest. Honest in a way that marble never is. No echoes to worry over. Just this hush and you and me, and the fire. You can lean back if you'd like. There's an old pelt behind you. It's thinned with years, but it still holds warmth like a memory. And I think memories deserve their warmth, don't you? Take a long breath with me. There it is. The air is damp, but sweet with the scent of burnt oak and ash, and something green from the plains beyond, perhaps wild sage still clinging to life in the wind. The smoke curls gentle as a lullaby, and the coals crack now and then, like they're telling little stories of their own. Stories not of battles or glory, but of trees and hearths and homes. You don't need to worry about the sword. I laid it down earlier. It's just there beside the fire, not for use tonight. Tonight it is only another shadow. I think even blades deserve a rest. There's no need to sit upright. Let the night fold around you. Let it blur the edges of your thoughts. If your eyes grow heavy, that's a kindness. Don't resist it. I'll still be here, watching the fire dance low, letting my thoughts rise like smoke into the high stone belly of this cave. We've no need for words of caution, no need to guard or wait or plan. This is not a moment to fill. It is a moment to feel. You are safe, my friend. You may hear boo boo, and you are not alone. Let the rain sing its song on the plains. Let the fire whisper its tales through the wood, and let yourself, at long last, be still. It feels good to rest beside the fire, doesn't it, dear friend? I think I've always favored moments like this, not for the warmth alone, though that's a kindness, but for what they offer the heart. Stillness, a place where nothing presses forward and nothing pulls behind. I've walked many roads, some narrow as sheep paths, others wide enough for merchant trains and the echo of 100 hooves. And yet, no matter how far my feet have carried me, no matter the kingdom or crossing, I've come to find something curious. The journey that matters most is not the one beneath your boots, but the one behind your ribs, the one carried quiet in your chest. You see, I wasn't made for banners. My armor, well, it's not what it was, though I've kept it clean as best I can. The polish catches a little of the firelight still. Not to shine, no, I don't polish it for show. I do it because the act itself feels steadying, like prayer, like rhythm. You understand? The way a monk might turn beads in his hand, not to be seen, but to remember. There was a time when this cloak draped broad and full across my shoulders, crimson as a new rose in spring. Now it's gone, soft and frayed at the hem, edges darkened from rain and smoke, and nights such as this. I've patched it a time or two, but never in the same color. I rather like the way the stitching tells its own story, small, quiet records of where I've been, much like the creases on my gloves or the scuff along the steel of my left knee. All of it worn, but not without care. If I could show you the map of my days, I would not point to battles or triumphs. No, those aren't the places I return to when I close my eyes. I remember the river banks where I once let my hands rest in the current, forest paths where I heard stories told, not in speech but in birdsong and shifting light. And the faces. Ah, the faces. Not heroes, not lords, but the old man who offered a broken apple and didn't ask for my name. The weaver in the village of Mossmere who taught me the difference between silence and stillness. The boy who pressed a stone into my palm and said, "This one keeps the rain away." I still carry that stone. He was wrong, of course, the rain comes anyway, but it reminds me that kindness often arrives wrapped in belief. You see, I've grown gentler with time. Not softer in spirit, perhaps, but less rigid. Once I believed I needed to hold everything tightly. Memories, oaths, people. I carried them like armor too heavy for my own frame. But now I think the truest strength is in knowing when to loosen your grip. Let what must go, and hold what remains not with force, but with grace. I've no grand tale to tell, of titles or trophies. No hall bears my name, but if you asked me who I am, I'd tell you this. I am one who listens, one who watches the way light filters through pine at dusk, one who kneels, not to beg nor boast, but simply to feel the earth beneath his hands, and remember that all things pass, but not all things vanish. There's something beautiful in weariness, I think. Not the kind born from labor alone, but the sort that comes from living wide and deep. The kind that makes you sit a little longer beside a fire, that teaches you the worth of a well-spoken word, or a moment left quiet. That's where I am tonight, friend. Not tired from battle, not burdened with duty, but resting from memory. Some of them come back clearer in the dark, don't they? You feel it too, perhaps. When the fire grows low and the world narrows to the flicker of light on cave walls, and the rain becomes your only audience, old moments return, not to haunt, just to be held again, briefly, gently. And in those memories I walk beside myself as I was and forgive him for what he carried too long, for what he clung to when he should have let go. And I thank him too for surviving the weight of days no one saw. I suppose that's why I speak to you now, because I know the value of witness, of having someone beside you, not to fix, not to question, but simply to sit, to listen. You are that for me tonight. A quiet presence in the storm's breath, and I hope in some small way I can be the same for you. Whatever path brought you here, you've walked it well enough to deserve rest. And I, old though I may be, am honored to share this moment with you. So let us not measure ourselves by victories or what banners once flew overhead. Let us be known instead by the peace we carry now. The hush that settles behind the eyes when we've made room for stillness. The world will spin on, my friend. Let it. For now we have the fire, we have the rain, we have the soft breath of the earth as it dreams beneath our feet, and we have each other. That is more than enough. You know, my dear friend, not all quests come with banners or begin at castle gates. Some begin in silence, with hands in the soil, with nothing more than a pouch of seeds and the willingness to kneel. That's what I've been doing these past seasons, not chasing foes nor seeking gold, but wandering the lands where memory still lingers. Old keeps long since claimed by ivy and time, broken stone towers where the wind hums through hollow halls, places once torn apart by anger, now softened by moss and wild growth. It's to these corners I've gone, not to conquer but to tend. You see, I've taken to planting just little things, herb sprigs, wildflowers, nothing grand, nothing planned, just a scattering here, a handful there walled. I carry them in a small linen pouch, tied with faded thread, even a few lavender seeds, though they're temperamental in rocky soil. I don't mind. I think stubborn flowers deserve their place too. There's no ceremony to it, no crowd to watch, just me and the earth and the breeze. Sometimes I hum to myself while I work, not songs from the court, no, but tunes I heard in market stalls and shepherd fields, the kind that stay in your bones even after the words are gone. Not long ago, I visited a field where once a garrison stood. It's quiet now, no stones remain, just the shallow rise where the foundation used to be. I remember walking across it slowly, boots brushing through tall, dry grass, feeling the weight of history in the soil. And there, near the old well, I knelt. The wind smelled of cedar and the coming rain. I pressed thyme and forget-me-not into the dirt. Not deep, just enough, just to give them a chance. I remember whispering to the ground, grow something kind here. Not to erase what was, but to carry something new. And then I left it. I don't wait for blooms. I never return to check. That's not the point, you see. Some quests aren't about watching a thing change. They stir about believing it can. And tonight, as this gentle rain trickles beyond the mouth of the cave, I think of all those seeds, curled safe in the dark, tucked beneath the weight of the world. I imagine the rain slipping down into the roots, waking something small and green, quietly. I think that's what I've come to cherish most. How the earth doesn't hurry, how it forgives, slowly but surely. How it turns even ash and ruin into places where bees might one day hum. There was a village once, burned long before my time. Only the bell tower remains, and even that is more air than timber now. But beneath it, tucked in the shadow of the stone, I found a patch of bare ground that felt forgotten. So I pressed my fingers in and left behind marjoram and mint, not for anyone to harvest, just to scent the wind someday, for someone who might pass through and not know why the air smells like kitchens and comfort. I don't tell many about this, not because it's secret, but because it's simple. And people forget that simple things are worth tending. Sometimes, as I rest like now, I imagine those places blooming. An old battlefield now dotted with violets. A castle wall with rosemary curling up between the stones. A crossroads once heavy with sorrow, now edged in golden tansy, humming with insects and the low murmur of peace. You might ask, why flowers? Why not rebuild or raise something new? Because, my friend, flowers don't stit a demand. They don't in judge or measure. They just grow where they can, bloom when they're ready, and give freely scent, color, stillness. They are the gentlest form of defiance I know, and maybe that's what I'm after. Not a monument, but a memory that breathes. Not a mark of where pain once ruled, but a whisper of what came after. I remember a slope beneath the southern cliffs where I once planted yarrow and calendula. The wind was sharp that day, pulling at my cloak, tasting of salt and old stone. I recall pressing my palm flat against the soil, feeling it cool and damp beneath my fingers. It felt alive, tired. Yes, but alive. Like it had been waiting for someone to return without asking for anything in return. That's how I feel sometimes too. Like I've been waiting not for answers, but simply for stillness. And in planting these small things, I think I found it. Every now and then, I meet a shepherd or traveler who says something curious. I passed through a glen, and the lavender grew wild there. Never seen it bloom like that before. They don't know it was me. I never tell them. I just smile. And in that smile is a kind of joy I never knew when I bore a sword for glory. I do still carry my blade, of course, out of habit. More than need. It rests there beside the fire, untouched tonight. Because the only weight I've carried today is the memory of the places I've knelt, and the quiet hope that somewhere a bloom has opened. So much of my life was spent on things that faded quickly, banners torn, words shouted and lost to wind. But these seeds, they ask so little and offer so much. And tonight, as the fire crackles low and the rain hums its lullaby across the stone, I feel that quiet hope rising in me again, that what we sow in kindness takes root, even if we do not see the flower. You don't need a map, or a steed, or a cause to begin such a quest. You just need to believe that something good can grow where sorrow once stood. That's all I set been trying to do. And maybe, in the end, that's enough. To sunward rest easy, dear friend. Tus you dream of fields tonight. I hope they sit full of color. You fear still with me. That brings me peace. The rain's softened now, haven't you noticed? It's no longer a steady rhythm, but more like the breath of the sky itself, rising, falling, stretching out above the plains in great, quiet sighs. The fire's holding. The coals are deep orange now, curled in a lazy glow. There's a kind of hush between the drops, a hush made for remembering. Would you like to hear a few of the places I found? The ones I never meant to find, yet did all the same. There was a well once, not far from the edges of a woodland whose name I've since forgotten, though the trees remember it, I'm sure. The path to it was narrow and swallowed in green, the kind of path that seems to vanish behind you the moment you step away. The well sat there like a secret, sunken low and wrapped in moss, its stones worn smooth by centuries of rain and children's hands. Children. Yes, I could almost hear them, not ghosts. No, only echoes, faint laughter caught in the shape of the stone. I sat on its edge for a long time, brushing the moss with my glove, tracing the names carved in crooked letters by those who once played nearby. I left a handful of wild violets there right at the base, and when I walked away I found I was smiling, though I hadn't meant to. It's a strange comfort, knowing that joy once lived in a place, that it left behind a fragrance stronger than dust or ruin. And then there was the tree. High on a hill overlooking a fog-covered valley, there stood a great hollowed oak, its trunk split clean through by time but still holding fast. One half was gone to rot and beetle, the other curved like a cupped hand toward the sky. I passed by it 3 springs in a row. Each time there was a nest. Not always the same bird, I don't think, but always one who had chosen that ruined space to bring life again. The last time I climbed that hill, the air was thick with the scent of bark and dew. I leaned close to the trunk, and the nest was there, just tucked inside the hollow, woven with horsehair and pine needles, quiet and perfect. I didn't touch it. I only sat beneath the boughs and watched the wind move through the branches, and thought to myself, how remarkable to return to a broken thing and call it home. Some might say it's only instinct, that birds do not consider beauty or sorrow. But I wonder, perhaps they feel what we feel, in smaller ways. Perhaps the heart of a creature doesn't need to speak to know where healing begins. I remember a chapel too, or what remained of one, just a handful of stone walls leaning into each other, like old friends too tired to stand alone. Keefe crawled up what was once the arch of the entryway. A wooden beam still hung overhead, blackened from some long-ago fire. The roof was gone, but light filtered in through the spaces where stained glass once caught the morning sun. And the bees, oh friend, the bees, they had made their home in what was once the altar. I sat among them for nearly an hour, unmoving, just listening. The hum was low and steady, like monks singing in a tongue older than speech. I watched them vanish into small golden crevices and return again, dusted with the pollen of unseen meadows, a ruined place reborn in honey and motion. I left them a few sprigs of mint, just near the base of the wall, a small gift, an offering, a thank you, not for protection but for presence. And I think often of that boy. He couldn't have been more than 8, maybe 9. Met him on the edge of a farming hamlet when I passed through last summer. I'd stopped for water, and he came running out from behind a crumbling fence, barefoot and wild-eyed. In his hand he held a little stem of mint. Just that. No ribbon, no words. He looked up at me like he knew something I didn't, pressed the mint into my glove and said, "This one keeps the tired away." Then he was gone. No fanfare, no family trailing behind him. Just wind in the barley and the sound of a wood dove in the hedgerow. I kept that sprig. It dried in my satchel, its scent growing faint, but never leaving entirely. Even now, I think of it when the road is long and the silence starts to stretch too thin. It reminds me that kindness doesn't wait for grand moments. It appears swift and quiet and leaves behind a blessing you don't fully understand until much later. There's an old woman, too. I met her near a ridge where lavender grows in patches no wider than a cloak. Her hands were stained with dye, her shawl heavy with the smell of sage. She watched me for a long time before speaking, never asked my name, never asked why I carried a sword I did not draw. She simply said, "Flowers do not fear ghosts." I've thought about that line every day since. She didn't mean spirits, I don't think. She meant memory, loss, all the things we try to bury, all the weight we carry in our sleep. She meant that new life, gentle, fragile, blooming, does not tremble at the thought of what came before. It grows anyway, boldly. Sometimes I repeat her words to the ground when I press seeds into the earth. Flowers do not fear ghosts. It's become a kind of spell, I suppose, a prayer in reverse. You see, it's not the destination that stays with me, but the details, the way light filters through a broken window at dusk, the sound of wind moving across a bare field carrying the scent of wheat and water, the feel of dry lichen beneath my palm as I steady myself against an old stone wall. These are the discoveries I've gathered, not gold or glory, but moments, quiet ones, the kind that don't change the world, but gently shape your place within it. There's something healing in that, in noticing, in remembering that every cracked stair, every fallen beam, every forgotten corner once held breath and warmth, and might hold it again if we stare gentle. So I go on, not to fix, but to listen, to see, to leave behind something kind, and take with me nothing but the hush of having been there. And on nights like this, nights when the rain falls just right, and the fire holds its shape like a heartbeat, I bring those memories out like pages from a worn book. I turn them over, slowly, letting the scent and the sound and the stillness return, and I share them with you, dear friend, because stories kept in silence fade, but stories whispered in trust, they become shelter, a roof made of words, a warm stone floor beneath our cloaks. So rest easy now. The world is full of sorrow, yes, but also wild mint, and bees that build in old chapels, and birds that return to broken trees. Stena wathist at hearth and lingers in mossy wells. You are not alone, and neither am I. You know, some nights invite memory more than others. Tonight feels like that. There's a stillness in the air that presses gently, like a hand on the shoulder, not to stir but to settle. It doesn't ask for answers. It doesn't rush. It simply reminds you that there's time enough for remembering, if you choose it. And tonight, I think I will. The rain helps, I suppose. It softens the edges of thought, rounds off the sharper corners of memory. I've always found that water has a way of knowing its path, even when the land doesn't. Perhaps that's how we are too, always finding our way forward, slowly through whatever shape the years give us. I used to carry so much, names mostly. Some I spoke aloud, others I only whispered, promises I made when I was younger, and thought that carrying weight was proof of strength. Regrets too, not loud ones, just small things that clung to the folds of my days, words I might have said better, moments I left too quickly, or held too long. But time, like water, wears everything down, not cruelly, not with violence, just with patience. I didn't lay those burdens down all at once. No, it was more like shedding a cloak a thread at a time. At first you don't notice it, loosening, and then one day you realize you can lift your shoulders a little easier. You breathe in, and the breath goes deeper. That's how peace finds you, not as a revelation but as a return. There was a season when I believed legacy had to be something loud, a feat sung in halls, a mark etched in stone. But now I wonder if it isn't something far simpler, a kindness left in someone's memory, a silence shared without the need to fill it, a place made softer because you were there. I think of the places I've sat like this, beneath eaves, beside streams, under the spread arms of sleeping trees, and I wonder how many of them remember me. Not in the way people remember, but maybe in the way soil remembers a root that once grew there, quietly, gratefully. Letting go hasn't meant forgetting. No. If anything, it's meant remembering more clearly, holding the memory without holding the pain. There's such a sweetness in that, like the scent of lavender caught in the lining of an old cloak. You don't notice it every day, but when you do, it pulls a smile from you before you even realize why. Love, too, has changed its shape in me. I used to think it had to be large, loud gestures, vows, and poetry. But the deepest love I've known has been small, quiet. It lingers, like the last light of day caught in the window of a home you once knew. It doesn't demand your notice, it just waits. And when you're still enough, it finds you. There was a moment once, just a simple one, when someone I cared for passed me a cup of tea without speaking. No ceremony, no explanation, just that small shared moment of care. I've forgotten 100 grand speeches since then, but not that, because love, I think, is often made of pauses. The space between words, the touch that doesn't press, the breath shared in silence. Maybe legacy isn't about being remembered by the world. Maybe it's about being remembered within someone for a moment that mattered only to the two of you, and maybe that's enough. I've seen many endings, some expected, some not, but what I've learned is this: peace rarely arrives with fanfare. It comes when we begin to listen, not just to others, but to the quiet voice inside that says, "You've done enough. You are allowed to rest now." And so I do, not always easily. There are nights the old weight returns and sits at my side like an uninvited guest, but even then, I know how to greet it now. Not with resistance, but with recognition. "Ah, I say, you here again. I see you. Sit a while if you must, but I will not carry you again when I rise." That's the difference, I think, between age and weariness. One teaches you what to hold, the other teaches you what to release. And here, by this fire, I feel light enough to speak of it. Not as a lesson, no, but as a gift I was given by the long, slow passage of days. If you ever felt that you must hold on to every thread, my friend, let me offer you this thought. You are allowed to set things down. You are allowed to change your shape. You are allowed to rest. Some people will never understand that the greatest strength is not in enduring, but in softening, in choosing not to answer every call to battle, in finding stillness and letting it hold you. There was a time I thought I had to speak to be worthy. Now I understand the worth of listening, and I don't just mean to others, though that matters. I mean to the wind, to the breath between sentences, to the sound of your own thoughts settling like snow. What a gift it is to hear the world without needing to shape it. Even now the rain speaks gently to the stone outside. The fire answers with its quiet hisses and snaps. And we, just the two of us, we sit here and let it be enough. There's no need to add to it. Just being here is enough. Sometimes I think the trees know more than we do. They do not race toward their growing. They do not regret last spring's leaves. They shed what is no longer needed and make room for what might come next. And in doing so, they stand both empty and full, open to the wind, rooted in silence. If I leave behind anything, I hope it's not a story of glory. I hope it's the sense that someone walked slowly here, that someone looked closely, that someone chose gentleness when it was not asked of them, that someone rested, and in resting, remembered. You, my dear friend, carry your own weight. I can see it, feel it almost. The way a bowed branch tells you the snow has been heavy, but you don't need to carry it forever. Not tonight, not here. Let me share this warmth with you. Let me hold the silence long enough for you to lay something down, even if just for an hour, even if only in the quiet corners of your chest. You are not meant to be made of stone. You are meant to bend and bloom and breathe. The world can wait. Tonight, we are not kings or soldiers or scribes. We are simply two souls beside a fire, letting the rain write lullabies on the roof of the cave. We are warmth and breath and shared presence. And for now, that is peace. The fire sits grown quiet now. See how the light folds into itself. Just a few soft pulses of ember left red and low, like a heartbeat drifting into dream. That's all right. Fires aren't meant to last forever, just long enough to hold the dark at bay until we no longer mind it. You've stayed with me through the telling, my friend, and I'm grateful. There's a warmth in your presence that lingers even when the words begin to thin. It's a comfort I can't quite name, but one I feel deep in the place where armor never reached. And I'll admit, I'm tired, but it's a good sort of tired. Not the kind that weighs you down, but the kind that gently tugs at your edges. The kind that says, you've done enough for now, you can let go. It's the tiredness of something completed, not abandoned. A chapter closing, not with a clang, but with a breath. Tonight feels like a page turning. Even the rain has softened. Can you hear it? Not falling now, but settling. More like a whisper than a wash. It's become the hush that comes after a lullaby. The moment when the child's breathing evens, and the song no longer needs to be sung. It's strange, but I don't feel the need to speak much more. Just to sit with you here in the warmth of the cave, with the stone at our backs, and the scent of ash and damp moss curling into the air. There's something holy in this stillness, don't you think? Not holy like temples or bells, but holy like silence kept for its own sake. The kind of silence that holds you, not because it has something to teach, but because it knows you've heard enough. I look down beside me, and there it is. My sword, still where I placed it. Untouched. Its hilt catching the last glimmer of the fire, just barely. I haven't needed it tonight, not to fend, not to explain, just to rest beside, like a dog grown too old to chase. Once I believed that resting meant stepping away from the world. Now I understand. It means stepping more deeply into it, into the quiet, into the soft, into the letting go. And tonight, here with you, I feel that I've stepped fully in, the smile not in sadness, no, but in understanding. It is enough, I whisper, enough to be still, enough to have spoken the things that mattered, enough to sit beside a friend and let the fire burn low without needing to feed it. This cave, it cradles us, not like stone, cold and distant, but like a womb carved by time and weather. The earth wrapping itself around our edges, not to contain us, but to hold gently, with the patience only stone knows. Close your eyes if they haven't already fallen. Let your shoulders ease down, your breath stretch out. You feel carried enough today. More than enough. Here, beneath this curved ceiling of quiet rock and waning flame, nothing is asked of you. There are no roads to trace, no words to find, no tasks to finish, only the rhythm of your breath, the warmth beside you, and the soft, soft hush of rain beyond the cave mouth. Let it all slow now. The thoughts, the memories, the corners of your mind that still flicker and hum, they too are ready to rest. Invite them to soften. Let them slip their boots off and sit with us for a while, barefooted and unguarded. Even the echoes of the past can grow weary, you know. Even the mind needs a meadow. That's this. This is our meadow. This stone floor. This fire's last breath. This hour. The seals here, not earned by effort, not granted by decree, simply present, like dew on morning grass, like the scent of time in your cloak. I once heard someone say that peace is not the absence of noise, but the presence of a quiet heart. And I think that might be true. Tonight, mine is quiet, and if yours isn't set just yet, that sip's all right too. Is some hearts take longer to still. They just need time and a safe place to wait. You stir in that place now, my friend. And I still keep watch a while longer, even as my eyes grow heavy, even as my head tilts forward and the warmth of sleep begins to pull at me. I'll stay, just until the fire winks out, just until the stone grows warm beneath us, just until we both forget the weight of our names and remember only the sound of the rain. You don't need to speak. You don't even need to think. Just let yourself drift. You stir not alone, not here, not tonight, not in this moment. Let the cave be your cradle. Let the dark be your quilt. Let your last thought be a soft one. And then, let go. You are safe. You are loved. You are enough. Sleep well, dear heart. Sleep well. The fire sep's nearly gone now, till only a few small coals remain, glowing gently like old stars tucked low in the ash. They give off just enough light to touch the curve of your cheek, and just enough warmth to reach your hands if you're still holding them near. But I can feel it, that quiet drawing in, that hush that comes not with fear or farewell, but with rest. The kind of hush you don't interrupt, only join. So let me speak only once more tonight, my dear friend. Softly, so softly. Thank you for staying, not just here, beside me, but in the stillness. Thank you for walking with me through the evening's quiet paths, through memory and earth and thought and firelight. You've been a gentle presence, and I've felt it truly, like a hand just resting near mine, not grasping, not urging, just there. That sep's a rare thing in this world, and rare things I've learned are worth treasuring in silence more than praise. You don't need to say a word. Not now, not tonight. Let the cave hold the silence for us both. Let the stone remember our breath. Let the fire remember our warmth. Let the night remember that. For a while we were here, and we were peaceful, as if nothing more to offer you, save for a wish. Not one written on banners or spoken in halls, just a wish, passed like a candle in the dark. Just a may your dreams fall, soft as rain. May your mind drift where it longs to go. May you find within your sleep, not answers, but quiet, and may dawn find you lighter than you were. You've earned that lightness, friend. You may have earned this rest, and when you rise, whether tomorrow or in time yet to come, may you carry with you the hush of this night, not as a weight, but as a warmth. Now, Close your eyes. Let the cave cradle you. Let the coals fade, and the rain take over. Let sleep come without hurry, without worry. Like moss growing in the shadow of stone, slow and kind and certain, the same stress demore were. Only good night. And so, good night, dear heart. Sleep well, sleep deep, sleep safe. If it'll be right here, in the hush beside you,